Hey guys, Ty coming to you from Black Scout Survival. Today we're going to talk about weapon retention. It's one of the bigger things that whenever you carry a firearm and you make that decision, that needs to be priority number one, because whenever you go to a fight, if you're carrying a firearm, there's always one gun there and it's yours and you want to protect it. So a couple things we want to talk about is, one, if somebody's approaching you, say on the street, you're walking down the alley with your girl or whatever, you've just been out to dinner, maybe somebody's coming up and asking you for money or something, you perceive a threat in some way. The first thing I always do out of muscle memory is I just drop back my right foot kind of like this and blade off. One, that lets me have my defensive arm, my left arm, out front. I keep my gun away from the perceived threat, and I've also got this one cocked back here, so if I need to deliver a strike or a punch, it's already cocked back and I can throw my hips into it and deliver that strike. But let's say somebody approaches you and you perceive it as a deadly force incident or a deadly force threat. Drop back and take that blade off. If they're close enough to you that you can strike out, and I like to deliver a strike here to the throat. One, because I'm not using my hand on a hard head, and that's going to hurt my hand. I can save this for later. But if you attack somebody's throat right here, it's going to stun them just enough when you jab out that you can come back with your firearm and shoot from the hip if you need to right here, or you can go ahead and drop back like I did and punch all the way out and get that good fighting position that you want. Then you're not fighting on your heels, you're in a good fighting stance. So same scenario, except instead of having my gun in the appendix carry, I've got it back here at my 4 o'clock. Now this is more consistent with what I did when I was in patrol and law enforcement, is I would always have my gun obviously at the 3 o'clock readily accessible. So if I perceived a threat, if I was even engaged with somebody on the street, I would take that one step back and blade myself off, keeping my gun side away from a perceived threat. Again, I've got this for defense and I've got this for deadly action. So same principles. I can thrust out if I need to, if they're close enough, or if not, I'm going to pull my shirt up like this and expose my firearm. I'm going to draw, and again, I can punch out here and shoot from the hip, put my hand here to guard my head, or I can take that small step back, punch out, and again address the threat the way I need to, still in a good fighting stance. Alright, we're still in the 4 o'clock carry position. What I just showed you prior was a perfect world scenario. I can get distance, I can drop back, I've got time to lift my shirt up with my support hand, draw with my gun hand, and punch all the way out. Is that going to happen in the real world? 99% of the time, no. A lot of times what's going to happen is this. If I've got someone coming up on me, I may have time to strike, it might be right here. So he's got me pinned, and what does he feel right there with his left arm? My gun. I can't do anything because my hands are right here, and now I'm getting shot with my own gun. The reason that I like appendix carry is because I can keep it up here, and we're going to show you in just a second all the protection techniques you can use to protect your gun from here instead of back here.
Yeah, if you're trying to use, both your hands are tied up. So like, let's say he's trying to protect his gun and I'm over here. What is going on here? His face and everything's just open up. I could just eat him alive. You know, he's got a gun on him. If I knock him out, then I got the gun too. So, you know what I mean? A good clean elbow strike and he could go down.
I've got to drop my defensive position from right here to get my gun out to here. And that's never what we want to do. We always want to protect the good stuff up here and keep our hands close to our face so we can strike and move.
And you're also having to he's going to have to keep his body in this position to make sure the pistol is that far away from me. So any real conventional fighting techniques, this is it. This is where he's kind of married to this position and he's stuck here because he don't want to. If he turns his body for whatever reason, then the gun's here. Especially if I come up like this, and then I can grab his gun and just blast him right here. You know, especially if somebody that knows a little bit of jiu-jitsu, this is a big problem.
So now I have my weapon in the appendix carry configuration right here in front of my, or behind my belt buckle, and we're going to do the same thing. Jack is going to be the aggressor, and he's going to come towards me. I'm going to drop back and be like, hey man, what's going on? What are you doing over there? He's going to come towards me in an aggressive manner, and I'm going to deliver that strike, right? And he's going to tie me up. We're going to wrap up here. I've got my hands in the same position that I had back when he tried to grab my gun in the 4 o'clock position. The only difference is now I can use my elbows to come out and push him up, and I've got my gun right here that I can access with one hand and come up here and just gut shot him all the way through, or bring it out for a headshot if I need to. The biggest thing is get your gun out if this is a deadly force incident, and get it out and get it on target and start pumping rounds into them, because obviously we're not going to have an instant kill shot right here in the gut, but it's going to hurt a lot, and when you hit this pelvic girdle, it's going to bleed a lot. So as he's getting shot right here, he's going to take his hands and cover up that wound right there. Now I can break contact and punch out and get some distance. Hey, somebody call 911, do this, do that. You get on the ground, whatever we need to do.
Yeah, especially if he hits this pelvic area here. I mean, he's going to be like immobile. You could also, Ty and I were talking the other week, and I can't remember, it was something about a doctor we had spoke to or heard about, and basically like walking the gun up them. The more separated the shots, the more blood loss, the quicker the guy's going to go down instead of emptying in one spot. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called the zipper technique. So if we were tied up, or if I was even going to engage him, I can break contact and get my gun out and start low, bang, bang, bang. And as he's coming up, I can push him off and continue delivering shots here, because the more shots you have on target and the more spread out they are, the more areas you hit, the faster it's going to induce shock. That's what we want. That's an immobilization. If somebody goes into shock, they're not trying to hit you anymore. They're not trying to kill you anymore. So that's the ultimate goal. So I hope you guys learned something. We've gone over the advantages and disadvantages of appendix, the advantages and disadvantages of the 4 o'clock carry. Yeah, each thing has its benefits and pros and cons. Like I said, I prefer the appendix for my body type. I'm fit and overly fit, as one commenter put on the last video. So I can use appendix. So that's the most practical for me, and honestly, in my experience, the most practical for everybody, as long as your body type and your belly isn't, coming over your pistol, you can get to it. Basically, this back here would be just for comfort.
And speaking of comfort, any of you guys sitting here commenting on these videos in your mama's basement wearing her silk pajamas, hit that thumbs down so we know who you are.